Welcome back to this episode of A Chef's Guide to Chicago. I'm Michael Stechly. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. The city markets are stocked with beautiful butternut squash, and I'm going to show you how to make one of my favorite fall delights, a butternut squash bisque with a twist. It's got apples, brown sugar, chives, and spicy walnuts on top, so let's go. So because this is a heavy-duty vegetable, I'm going to use a heavy-duty knife, a carbon-based knife. And I'm gonna cut the vegetable in half lengthwise this way, and then oil, salt, pepper, and a little bit of fresh thyme. But let me show you a pro tip too. Sometimes if there's a struggle with cutting all the way through, you can use the tip in the center, force down with your hand. So butternut squash has seeds that you'll want to scoop out with a spoon, just like this, and then you'll want to discard these seeds. And now your squash is ready to roast. Do the same thing with the other one. So a chef pro tip before you season or roast the squash would be to take your knife and do a crisscross pierce all the way down the squash, and this allows for even cooking. You want to make sure that you get the entire surface area and then go back up. Light coat of oil. Light coat of salt. Remember, salt brings water out of vegetables. This is perfect for our soup. Then some fresh cracked black pepper. Don't be afraid to season it. Have some fresh thyme. This is gonna roast until it's tender, about 45 minutes in the oven at 375 degrees, and I'll show you what that looks like when it's done. In the meantime, we're gonna make our own homemade stock. This is also a key and a chef pro tip. Part of this is if you can make your own stock, like I'm gonna show you right now, this is gonna be the best, freshest soup you will ever have for a butternut squash bisque. Watch. All right, so let me show you how to make our own homemade stock. This is gonna be a vegetable stock, so if you're vegan or vegetarian, this is perfect for you for the fall season. It's gonna consist of onions, celery, carrots, and I like to throw parsnips in there because they're super fresh and they're in season. And they also offer a really great umami taste to the soup. Our aromatics are gonna be garlic, fresh black peppercorns. We're gonna use chives, parsley, fresh bay leaves, and thyme. So let me show you how it goes. So in a medium saucepan, I'm just gonna pour 3 cups of water. This is gonna be the base for my stock. And now we're gonna add vegetables to it. So the first vegetable is gonna be onions. I'm just gonna cut the tops and bottoms off. You wanna make sure that these go into the stock. These are not to be wasted, so these go right in. I'm gonna cut this in half. I don't even need to peel it because all this is going in. And I'm just gonna quarter it like this, maybe a third. And that's it, here we go. Same thing over here, in half, and then in thirds. Same thing for the celery, stalks and all, the whole thing. I like to just do rough chops like this. Every single part of the celery is gonna go right in here. Same thing with our carrot. I do like to get peels in there, so just go ahead and peel your carrot. I'm gonna throw the peels in there and then we're gonna rough chop the carrot. Go ahead and peel your parsnip. Chop your top of the parsnip off. Now my aromatics, our fresh thyme, parsley, I have a fresh bay leaf, and my whole peppercorns, all gonna go right into the water. I'm gonna reserve the garlic. And all this is gonna be on the heat, on medium-low heat. I'm gonna add just a little bit of salt, just a little bit. Once this comes to a small boil, I'm gonna bring this down to low heat and we're gonna simmer this for 45 minutes. This is gonna be the stock that we're gonna use for our soup. So in a bowl, I'm gonna use a fine mesh strainer, which is called a chinois. This is a very important kitchen tool. If you don't have it, use whatever you can to get whatever liquid is in here, the stock. We're just gonna strain that right through. Now there's a few things that we want to look for. One, the golden color of the stock. That's how we know that it was done in the first place. It's not just, a minute or, 45 minutes or something. We want to look for a really nice golden color. We want to make sure that the smell of the stock is full-bodied, meaning the peppercorns have had their time to mend into the stock. The onions have had their time to leach their infusion into the stock, the parsley, the bay leaves, all those things take time. It's not just, an egg timer, 40 minutes and let it go. We've got to make sure that our stock has a good infusion. What I'm doing is I'm taking the back of a spoon and I'm pressing down into the vegetables to make sure I get every ounce of flavor out of that. We're going to basically squeegee this flavor out of here, and you can see all that extra little drip that we want. That's why we do this. Don't discard your vegetables without doing this step, okay? So on low heat, I'm just gonna heat a small pan. And I'll add butter. And then I'll add some brown sugar, some light brown sugar. So I'm gonna small dice an apple for the center of the plate. And I find this to be a really great variation to capture all the really great and fall ingredients. So we have the roasted butternut squash, we have the delicious fall apple and the walnuts. And we have a nice dice of apple. And all we're gonna do is throw that right into our butter and brown sugar. So we'll just throw our apples into the brown sugar and butter mixture. And what you'll notice is the brown sugar brings out a lot of the moisture from the apples. And then what we really want to achieve here is a caramelization of the brown sugar. Get this, the apple's kind of sweet already, but now that brown sugar gives it a nice undertone. So now what we're looking for is for all the brown sugar to have dissolved in the cooking process and for that sweet smell to come through, which we have achieved. So I'm gonna go ahead and shut this off heat. So the last thing we're gonna do is toast our walnuts. And in a pan, a small pan, I'm just gonna add my dry walnuts. Just a pinch of pepper. Just a pinch of salt. And we'll let these get toasted. We don't want to achieve like a burnt color. We just want the aroma to come out. Then right at the end, to make them spicy and really give it the bisque a nice flavor, we're gonna go ahead and add just a pinch, no more, just a pinch of cayenne pepper. Make sure every now and again that you're moving the walnuts around like this in the pan so that they don't get burnt on one side of the pan. So this is a good time to take a small pan and heat up my heavy cream. We don't want it to be boiling, but we do want it to be warm when we add it to the bisque. Low heat. So what I like to do is just take the top off. I'm still going to reserve that little bit of meat. I'm going to cut this into 3 sections, 1, 2, and 3. Then you can go ahead and peel off this little section. You'll discard the peel. All you want is the meat. You want to try to get it while it's still hot. If you got some tricky parts, just go ahead and shave off with a knife. You could take the side of your knife and just scrape out any meat along the flesh like that. This way you're not wasting so much or any at all. I'll just do large chunks like this. And you can really tell it's done when you have a nice easy pierce with a knife or a fork. They don't need to be perfect because you're just going to blend it up. So in a blender, I'm just going to add about an ounce or 2 of my vegetable stock. Then I'm going to go ahead and start adding my roasted squash to the blender. You do not need a thickener for this soup. The squash is the thickener. It'll have a natural starch to it. And we are going to add cream to this soup. One really important thing to notate about a bisque is that it's not a bisque unless it has cream. So when making soups and understanding soups, it's really important to understand the categories of soups, like a chowder or a consommé, or in this case, a bisque, because that gives you a real clear guideline on what to use for ingredients. Now you can go ahead and add the rest of your liquid. I also have 1 clove of roasted garlic we're going to throw right in there from earlier. I'll start out on low, medium, and then go to high. So the consistency is perfect. I don't like my bisque to be too thick like baby food. I think that that's a real turn off in texture. And also when you coat the spoon and then go ahead and take a bite, it actually sticks to the entire palate of your mouth, your cheeks and your tongue. And it doesn't allow the mouth to breathe, right? So it's really important that you dial in your consistency of this soup by using the right amount of 3 things. Cream at the end to thin it out and really add flavor and base to the soup. Enough of the squash so that it's a natural thickener. If you don't have enough or too much, it'll be kind of one way or the other on the spectrum. But also the stock. If you have too much or too little, the stock will thin it out or not create enough. So there's a little bit of variable ingredients that you need to consider with each of these ingredients in the recipe. But it's really important to know that when you go ahead and just season, now we don't know what we need to do yet, so let's taste it. So let's go ahead, first of all, look at that consistency. It's a little thick, but that's okay because we're gonna add our warm cream to it and thin it out just a little bit. But let's look for seasoning real quick. Let's just taste it. That is good, it's really good. However, we need a little bit of salt. And we do need a little bit of cracked pepper in there. And we're gonna strain this out through the chinois again. I'm gonna show you. So we'll go ahead and blend this back up. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add my cream a little bit through the top, that warm cream. Now here's a really important tip. It has to be warm. Do not add the cold cream to this warm soup, okay? Here we go. Okay, so here's how I would plate the soup. I would take some of these brown sugar apples with butter and place them right in the center of a nice big soup bowl. Just like that. Then I go ahead and pour my soup in just around it. And I'll move the bowl like this so that we maintain the integrity of the apples in the center of the plate or the bowl. And that consistency is really good. Then I would go ahead and top it with just a little bit of the spicy walnuts. And then to really pop it with color, a little bit of those chopped chives. Thanks so much for joining us on this episode of A Chef's Guide to Chicago. I hope I motivated you to hit the streets and hit your local market and source butternut squash so that you can try your own beautiful butternut squash bisque. Let me know in the comments how you liked it. Like, subscribe, share. We'll see you next time on A Chef's Guide to Chicago.